larger. Is that working? Yes, it's working. Hi, baby. You gonna get zoomies now? You like it when I like it like this. Put a hole in my blanket. I'm gonna want you to know. Just want you to know. He's got the zoomies. Oh, yeah, this will show it. Big Bad Joe, you are first. Good morning. Cyber Bob, number 2. Yeah, Ender's got the zoomies. Did. Yeah, I found a bag of cinnamon bears in my pantry. They're hard as rock, but if you just leave them in your mouth for a few minutes, they soften up. Yum. I love cinnamon bears. Watch, you don't hurt your own tail, baby. Red Hots are good. The little tiny little cinnamon heart candies. Hello, Jerry. You are number 3 today. As he's already starting to sharpen up. Doing okay. As we expected, the COVID was pretty light duty. You know, she had a sore stomach and a sore throat, coughing, but she's just about clear of all that. I'm actually going to go down and see her this Friday because I have an eye doctor's appointment on Friday. It's insane to spend 2 trips of gas when I could do it in one. You know, people laugh when you quote Spider-Man and shit like that, but that shit was actually trying to teach us something. Something a lot of people could do to learn. Hey, Drone Shots, how are you doing? I'm going to print out the last revision I made for the body for the flashlight. Make sure everything fits properly. And if it does, we're going to go gold on the flashlight. I'm going to get this posted. The USB battery bank is running into a couple issues that maybe it's a non-issue, but I want to be careful. So I made a prototype for the power bank. So you have a module in this end, and you have a module in this end. And I actually made it so that you can just reach that button in there now. If I can reach it, anybody can reach it. Now you can see the display screen light up. It's too bright to see on the camera. I did run into an issue though, and maybe it's a non-issue, but it could be a serious issue. And when you're dealing with that much power, you know, that's 20 amp hours of power right there. That's a lot more than your cell phone holds. That's about 4 times what your cell phone holds. What I found is that I thought that, you know, this here it says 93%. Now I assumed it was reading the voltage of the battery, but apparently it's a combination of reading the battery and its own internal algorithm, because that says 93%. This is connected to the same battery and it says 100%. So for whatever reason, this one has no idea that this one has been drawing power from this battery. Also, I found out I cannot use the wing nuts in this. You have to use regular nuts, because and you also can't use the little crimp-on spade connectors. You have to use the circle. Basically, I use one of the washers and I wrap the wire around it. Because the act of putting this on and off rips the wire right off of the post. So that's a no-go right from the start. Let's see. This one I got away with using the wing nut, I think, because it's deeper. Because of how deep in here it is. But you can see the wire's already starting to wrap around the post, because the wing nut keeps it from coming away smoothly. I might have a solution for that. But one idea I just got. Oh, it's on the wrong side. Well, what I want to do is and when you go to put it on, wind it backwards a few turns, and then put it on. This way you are undoing the backwards winding you did when you put it on. So what I want to do is I want to drain this down a lot, like get it down around 50-60%. And then what I want to do is I want to unplug this, because when I first plugged this board into this battery, it said 70%. There is no series or parallel. They're both simply connected to the battery. There's only one. Series and parallel refers to power, and there's only one power point here, one single battery. So both of them are connected to the positive and negative of the battery correctly. And technically that's parallel, but you can't do it in series. That would alter the voltage. It looks like the boards keep an internal track in their own memory of how much capacity is in the battery. And um, the problem is I don't know what that means. Will they turn off when it reaches the critical 2 volts and 3.65 volts? I don't know. I think for charging they do. So I got to test it basically. So what I got to do is I got to drain the battery down from the one and then plug the charge into the other one and see if it correctly stops charging it, or if it stops charging early because it thinks it's full. Same thing with discharge. I got to discharge it to like 10% and then plug a device into the other one, thinks it's still at 100%, and see if it stops when it gets past that 10% mark, or if it tries to keep draining the battery. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know enough about these things and the intelligence inside them, how they work. But apparently it's a combination of measuring battery's voltage and also keeping an internal log of the amount of power going in and out. Because I drained this down to 60% and this one still said 100%. Now, if that's just a false reading and it'll be fine otherwise, okay, great. I don't care. But I haven't even tried to charge it with 2 at the same time yet because I don't know what's going to happen. Now, a possible solution, which is a workaround that I'm probably not going to execute. Put a switch for each of these so that I can turn it off, meaning disconnect it from the battery, turn it back on, and see what happens. Although I wonder, one thing I want to try, what happens if I hold this button? Nothing. Yeah, double tapping doesn't do anything. Like I know when I'm outputting, I can actually manually switch this between 5 volts and 9 volts by double tapping the button. But if the device supports 5 volts and 9 volts. Holding it doesn't reset it. Double tapping it doesn't reset it. That still says 100%, even though that says 90%. I don't know what that means, and I know a lithium iron phosphate is much safer than lithium ion, but still, I don't want something damaging itself. The easy solution is I release the initial model for one. So you just use a blank cap on one end here, and then only one module on this end. And then you have yourself a 20 amp hour USB battery. That's the easy solution for now. The correct solution is to find a custom board that has multiple USB outputs. But you saw how much trouble I had finding that one board. Because most of them just aren't made for lithium iron phosphate. So I just don't know, and that worries me a little bit. So of course, because it's 20 amp hour, it takes a long time to test these things. I think what because I'm worried about adding it to the flashlight, because I also need that second BMS in the flashlight. Am I gonna have the same problem? Are these two BMSs not going to communicate properly? Do they need to communicate? I mean, what happens if power is drawn from this battery, but it did not go through this BMS? Although, I could plug the USB wires into the BMS so that at least this BMS will be correct at all times. But I think if I do that, I think I'll break the bidirectional nature of the USB. Meaning I don't think it'll be able to charge going the other way, because this BMS up here is not designed for that, as far as I know. No, power input and output both go through the BMS. You would almost certainly lose PD charging. It would be 5 volt, 3 amps, a 15 watt max. But that might work. But this BMS is expecting 5 volt input, not a regulated input from a charging circuit. Another solution would be to get rid of this PD trigger, get rid of this BMS, and then connect this to a buck converter to take the 5 volt output from this and turn it down to 3 volts for these, and then simply it's on this one, plug into the 5 volts coming out of this. That's a possible. So the problem is these two ports interact. I noticed that if I plug something into this, I can get PD charging at 5 volts or 9 volts. But if I plug something into this, they both go down to 5 volts. Damn it. Wish this had a pass-through tap. If it had a 3 volt pass-through for the battery that still went through the BMS, that would solve all the problems. Because then I could just run the power from this into that. And this way everything would be going through this chip's intelligence. And I could just get rid of this BMS and get rid of the other PD trigger. Don't know how to do that. Besides looking around for other boards that have more ports. But there's so freaking few of them. Where the hell is this? There it is. Switch to desktop. So, power, bank, word. Really? Now the stupid fucking pop-ups come up? 1S. 3.2 volt. This? That's a charging board, I think. Yeah, that's just a battery charging board. This is basically the same thing I have now, but in square form factor. This one is not suitable for so this one's not suitable for lithium iron. It's basically the same thing except square. I know there has to be a solution. It's a combination of my lack of knowledge and it's an uncommon thing that people want to do. nice simple BMS, but 7 amps. 7 amps is a lot of juice. At this low voltage, there's a lot of juice. That fucking mouse. He's right here tearing something apart. Right there, tearing something apart. Digging at something. Wonder if I could just type round. That didn't work. Maybe power bank is the wrong word. This is what I really want. I want this one with the screen. But I haven't found one that's 1S or 2S. See, this is a 4S one. What I really want is this one. It's got that nice screen that shows you the watts in and watts out. Well, there's a multi-port. All right, so this will do 2S. They have that backwards. This is the type C, this is the type A. Okay, so you need 5S to get 100 watts, and at 2S you would get 27 watt max. This is the kind of thing I really want. But I do not think these are lithium iron compatible. Do these really have no provisions for anything else drawing power while still registering that fact? Yeah, see 3.7. A nice little unit. But it doesn't tell me anything. Which means I have to assume that it's not lithium iron phosphate compatible. Hello, red light. Nice thing is this one will do 12 volts. Although, this is even 1S compatible. Supports PPS too, that's cool. And it doesn't list anything. It doesn't tell you anything important. Like what kind of battery can you connect to it? How many batteries? Is it 1S, 2S, 5S? It doesn't tell you shit. It would seem like, it's so obvious that you have to include that information, and they don't. That one needs 4S. Oh, there's another one with a screen. And 65-watt input. Nice. And that would fit within the dimensions of my tube as well. Fuck does it connect to? How can they sell this shit without even telling you what it connects to? Like, how the hell does that even work? How many batteries? What chemistry? This is kind of important shit. Okay, so these are 4S. I mean, that would be a 250 watt hour battery. That'd be a hell of a battery. Yeah, but they need to include the bare minimum information, such as how many batteries in series and what chemistry. So this one, yeah, see, now this one actually says correctly. Uses ternary cells, lithium iron phosphate, not compatible. Okay, so this is what you need. This right here is your minimum information. How many batteries and what chemistry. So that one's just not compatible. But the number of these that don't even list that basic modicum of information, it's like, what are you doing? They see if I could just find a basic 1S USB output board that didn't do charging. It was just an output. I feed it 3 volts, it boosts it to 5 or 9 volts and gives me my USB port. Well, then I could just use the BMS I have built in. I know they're available, I just don't know what they're called. I don't know what to type in to get it to give me what I want. I want this that doesn't do charging. That's cute. He's designed for 3S. You know, because even without the PD, I don't care at this point. I want it to work. This works on its own, but it has to be on its own unless I don't. The problem we're running into for the new guys who've joined us is that I made this battery pack. It's not a pack; it's just a closure. But it's got a single, 20 amp hour cell in here, and I have that round bi-directional PD board that we got. I got one on each end, so there's two. So I have a USB A and C here, and a USB A and C here. The problem I've run into, as you can see, this one's at 84% because I'm currently charging my phone. Well, let's see what this one says. Still says 100%. So what happens when I plug that in? Is it going to charge? Is it going to figure out that, oh, wait a minute, I think it's at 100%, but it's actually at 84%, and will it adjust? Okay, now, if I draw this down to 10%, that's still going to say 100%. What happens if I plug something into that? Is it going to try to keep drawing the battery down, or is it going to figure out the battery's dead? I don't know. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. I assume that these things would have more real-time feedback on the condition of the battery, and they would simply, like, they wouldn't know where the power is going, but they would know it's going somewhere, and they would display the appropriate capacity. But they're not doing that. So I think I need to figure out how to do this with a single BMS. See, the problem with doing this way is that there's two BMSs in action. Basically, there's two brains. That one's got a brain, and that one's got a brain. And those two brains aren't talking to each other. So I need one of these to be stupid. I need one of these to be just USB ports that connect to this brain, so that it all goes through the same BMS somehow. No, it stays wherever it comes out at. So when I stop charging and I turn it on, it remembers. It says 83%, and this one still says 100%. I don't know what to do about that. Maybe it's irrelevant. Maybe as long as the minimum and maximum voltages, as long as the discharge cutoff voltage and the charge cutoff voltage, as long as those two are honored and maintained, the only consequence is you get some weird results on the screens, and I don't care. That doesn't matter. But if that could cause it to keep trying to charge or discharge the battery, well, that's a problem. Where the fuck did all that come from? It changed to other stuff. Well, let's do USB board. What I need is this, but the opposite. I need output, not input. No protection, no overvolt, no undervolt. I just need USB port. About 3 volt. That's a charging module. I just need, what's this? Okay, so this looks like I feed it 12 to 30 volts and it'll output PD 65 watt. Not a decoy. Decoy won't work. That's actually kind of cool. I want to save that. Ooh, it's expensive. But just including the enclosure, including this little enclosure, that'd be a pretty convenient way of adding a PD port to any gadget you want. Let's download that. Again, that's a charging module. I don't want a charging module. I want output. How is it possible that this just doesn't exist? It has to be as simple as I'm not typing in the right words. But this should not be this complex. It's this. No. You guys understand what I'm talking about? I need something like this. That's not a charging interface. That's an output interface. I plug 3 volts into one end, I get 5 volts out the other end. Ideally, 5 and 9 volts for a little bit of fast charging. Oh, here we go, DC-DC boost. Oh, that might be what I need to search for. Type C DC-DC boost. I fucking hate the mice so much. That's USB in. Well, there's battery. It's a charger discharger board. I don't want that. power module. This might be the kind of thing I need. What kind of input? It says USB boost. So this might do it. Supply voltage 5 volts. That doesn't make any sense. If you've already got 5 volts, then you don't need anything else. Is this a discharge board or a charging board? This seems to indicate it's a charging board. Charging module. I don't want that. How about 3 volts to 5 volts type C? It's got to be, I'm just typing in the wrong words. This has to be something that's available. I can't accept that this is not something that's available. Serial port adapter. Charging, discharging. I don't want that. This doesn't go low enough. About 3.2 V step up type C. I mean, I guess you could use a charging discharging board one way. this? Charging module. This is really annoying. It's really annoying. Show you guys the screen, right? Yeah. You guys saw input, which means I want this. Yeah, this is a charging board. Yeah, see, Type-C input, output. But with no pass-through power, I can't even dedicate the board I have as the primary interface, because how do I get my output power for flashlight? Although, if you're using the flashlight, you're not using the charging circuit. Or you just might be limited to 5 volts if you're using the light at the same time as you're trying to charge something. Just waits until I give up and then he goes back at it. Does that work? Oh, that works. See, what I could do is I could tap into plus and minus 5 right here and run that to the BMS for the flashlight. This way, everything would be going through this circuit board's BMS. And it would be able to properly track both the power consumed by the USB and the power consumed by the flashlight. Then I would just get rid of the PD trigger on the flashlight side. So keep the BMS, but get rid of the PD trigger. Although I wonder what happens if I just feed those LEDs 5 volts. Are they self-regulating? I don't know if they're self-regulating or not. I have no idea if they self-regulate. I mean, if I could feed the LEDs 5 volts, that would solve the problem. Yes, they do. For example, this is a self-regulating LED. The resistors and everything to regulate are built in. So this, you just plug it into 19 volts, you know, a 12 to 24 volts. And then whatever circuitry is necessary, that's actually probably inside this blob. Probably inside that blob right there. So it's what we call all-in-one unit. So this is all, you just feed this anything from 12 to 24 volts, and it does what it needs to do to feed the LEDs correctly. So you can't overvolt these unless you exceed the 24 volts. Question is, do these have those resistors and whatnot built in, or are these a standalone LED? I don't know. Yeah, correct. Correct. This is a module. So this has everything needed to function correctly. It's not a bare bones LED, which you have to provide the appropriate forward voltage and constant current limitations. This one you don't have to. You can just plug this into a 12-volt car battery and it handles the regulation internally. So this is I guess you'd call this a module. But the question is, are these bare bone LEDs or is this a module? Does this have regulation built in which case I can just plug it into 5 volts and it'll probably be fine. Considering the cost cutting they go through to make this kind of stuff, I'd be very surprised if this was a module. I would assume that this is designed to operate off a 3.7 volt lithium cell. That's it, because that's what this is from. This is the module from those little square carabiner keychain flashlights. Yeah, it's not a bare bones standalone LED. So this is a module. That I'm not so sure about. Meaning I have no idea what happens if I feed that 5 volts. Now, another solution is I could step down. But stepping down is a little hard. 5 volt, 3.3 volt step down. So something like this would theoretically do that. Yeah. You're in Dollar Express. Come on, load. I don't know enough about how to do that, and resistors waste power. Theoretically, yes. But resistors use a decent amount of power. Yeah, see this, I could just buy a 3.3 volt unit right here. And I think I would need this one right here. Yeah. Let me switch. I got my tablet set up again. Add it to my picks. So that there would do it. I could take the it would require you to tap into 5 volts going to the USB port and send that to this chip, which would give you the 3.3 volts, and then you would send this 3.3 volts to the switch. So we would get rid of the PD trigger and get rid of the BMS inside of here, and instead the power going to the switch go to the 3.3 volt DC-DC buck, and that would go to the USB port in the board. I guess the real question is, can I actually tap into that? I mean, they are pretty big pads. Wouldn't be that hard. I guess we need to see, do I actually get 5 volts out of this? this is going to be fun. The cage might be ground. Cage is ground. That will make it easy. .5 volts. What the hell? How am I getting 2 volts? Oh, I just reset it. I didn't like that. Oh, there's 5 volts. Okay, so I can get 5 volts out. Although it looks like I pissed it off when I did that. Oh, isn't that interesting? So here's a weird one for you. When I'm charging, I get 2.5 volts to this. When I'm not charging, I get 5 volts. Huh? Don't even ask me to explain that. But in theory, we could do that. Solder a couple leads to the USB port. Now the only problem is, would that would the DC-DC buckboard trigger the circuitry in this that says something's plugged into here, and then you'd lose your PD charging? Meaning that DC-DC buckboard might have to go after the switch, so that it's out of the circuit when you want to use the USB-C port. Think. That's annoying. Back to the screen here. So I have that saved. So that could work in a pinch. Wow, these things are down to 14 bucks now, huh? These are knockoffs of the Kodak Charmera. Oh. Only that version is 14. I think those are bigger than I need. I'm going to add them anyway. What's this? Oh, it is a PD trigger. Oh, this even does the this is the new high voltage, the new 3.1 standard. So this will assuming you have an appropriate USB-C power supply, this will allow you to trigger 20, 28, 36, and 48 volts. That's cool. I'll save that. That's very cool. Hey, 3D Medic, how are you doing? What's this? Mm, no idea. I have a feeling most of this comes down to I'm not typing in the correct words. I have a feeling they have dozens of what I need somewhere on this site, and I just don't know what words to type in to get it to give me that. Oh, is this what I think it is? This won't help me with the flashlight, but this will help me with another project I'm working on. And $8 for 10 of them. Yeah, let's add that. I want to make a 65 watt standard, but I want to make a USB-C power strip. I love when you see these guys posting videos saying, "Would you like to replace this power brick with this USB cable?" I was like, "No, you don't understand. That USB cable still needs to plug into a brick." I mean, all you're doing is, yeah, I'll show you. I have a little wall wart. I don't see a wall wart handy. Well, let's pretend this is your cell phone charger. Let's pretend this is your cell phone charger with the wire coming out of it. You want to get rid of your wall wart and replace it with a USB-C cable? Yeah, that's not how it works, because that USB-C cable still needs to plug into a wall wart. You can't just get rid of this. You still need the cable is just an interface. You still need to provide that cable with power, which means you still need a wall wart. So if you want to plug in 10 USB-C devices, you need 10 of these. The advantage doesn't come from getting rid of the wall wart, which you're not doing. The advantage comes from unifying your power structure to one power supply and one cable protocol and technology, which has some. The fuck? I've never seen it do that before. That was weird. And the other issue is you say, well, you could just buy a USB, power block. No, you can't. Let me show you what I'm talking about. USB-C 240 watt. I should bring one up. Oh, come on. Are you really going to only show me? Let's see, 360 watts. I think another one that I've seen. Stupid intelligent search. Lacks intelligence. Ooh, that looks like it might have a bigger screen. Here we go. You have these kinds of things. First of all, these are expensive, very expensive. And second of all, a lot of the times these a lot of the times these ports are shared. Meaning it gets pissy when you change protocols in the same group. Like, I doubt you could actually plug two 100-watt devices in. That. Oh, it's not showing my desktop again? Hello? Hey. Oh, I didn't switch it again. Thank you. So you have this is kind of like a USB power strip. Now, when everything's the same, it's easy. So you can actually get one of those. USB 20 port. So you can get these kind of things right here, and they're cheap. So if you have a whole bunch of 5-volt things, well, it comes up Big Bad Joe. That's what I assumed you were calling for. So these kind of things work great if everything is 5-volt USB. And this is 100 watts, and you share that 100 watts among all these ports. There's usually a max per port. Let's see, 20 amps among 20 ports, 2.4 amps per port. So, for example, you can only plug in 10 devices if all of them drew 2.4 amps. But you can share, 20 amps amongst all these 20 ports. I have a couple of them. They're pretty handy. USB-C, on the other hand, breaks that, because USB-C, I did not want to close that. USB-C is multi-protocol. So you would need a separate control chip for each port that you wanted to have independent control of the voltage. Otherwise, they'd all have to share a protocol. So an easy way to do that would be something like this that we were just looking at. That is gone now. Here it is. So this right here is basically a PD 65-watt charging module. You feed it 24 volts in, and you get your USB-C PD 65-watt out. So the solution here is you create a common rail. Either use a laptop power supply, or better, use a 24-volt power supply. So 24-volt PSU. So you use something like this, except we would use a big boy. There we go, something like this, 500 watts or something like that. Here's a Meanwell. That one, I believe, does not use a cooling fan. So 24 volt, I believe it's 150 watts. So this would drive 2 USB-C ports. So you see, the problem you're going to run into is you're going to need a whole bunch of power supplies. At that point, you're going to want to go to, 500 watts, 600 watts, something like that, 350 watts. So if you wanted to run 10 USB-C ports, you would need at least 650 watts if you were going to plug in 10 devices that all drew 65 watts at the same time. So you're better off at that point having a couple of high power ports, and then having a few like 20-watt ports, because like a 100-watt power supply would do 5 20-watt ports. Like this LRS 150 would do 7 20-watt USB-C ports, all of this one power supply. And So, for example, if you plugged in 2 of these LRS 150s, you could have 3 65-watt outputs, or you could have um, 7 20-watt and 2 65-watt outputs, all from the same thing. The question is, can you do it more efficiently a different way? I'm not sure. I really don't know. Also, I don't know. Be careful with those multi-outlet devices. Oh no, most of them regulate. The good ones, the name brand ones, they will segregate and regulate. So they won't let you draw too much power. That's the whole point of using them. Well, yeah, I didn't realize just how much power these things could draw. So you're better off sticking to under 30 watts at this point. Just do a. See, the thing is, though, I want the 12 and 15 volts. Because there's a lot of devices that they don't take any power, but they need 12 or 15 volts. For example, your router might only take 2 amps, 3 amps, but it needs 12 volts or 18 volts. So now the question I wonder is, can I get a version of this that is PD 22.5 watt? Meaning I want this, but for lower power. Let's just do this. What happens? Come on, come on, come on. Where the hell's the search bar? It's gonna pop up a stupid thing. And still thinking about it. Well, let's get rid of 65 watt. Let's just type in PD. There it goes. That's what I was waiting for. I'm showing the screen. Okay. I don't want to trigger. What I want is this, but not 65 watts. That's a decoy. I don't want a decoy. I want an actual USB port. But I want it to be able to support multi-protocol. Oh, it's got to be a... Oh, this is it. This is what I need, but... And I want a few of those. But having all of them be 65 watt compatible is just too much. You would need a massive power supply. Otherwise, your device would trip a breaker because it would try to pull more power than you're willing to give it. These are all 65. That's a QC module, but I want type C. Is this a trigger? I think it's a trigger. Yeah, it's a trigger board. Don't want a trigger. I want this, but lower power. Oh, there's a transformer. Yeah, you need to look for something that has a transformer. That little 2R2 board there. Not what I want. This is a charging board. Basically, I want the little board that's inside here. I want the little board that's inside this thing. But 12 volts. This is power bank stuff. Oh, how do I search for it? There's got to be a way to find it. It can't be this hard. How was this thing game? Crap about. Go away. What I need is this. Right here. No. Where is it? Instead of input, I just need output. I need 22.5 watt PD output that I could feed it 12 volts or 24 volts and have it provide me with this. Just I want this. I want the board that's inside this thing here that takes 110 and gives me 30 watt PD port. Okay, or 20 watt PD port. Except I want 12 volts or 24 volts. That'd be more efficient. Because being able to go up to 20 volts would be nice, even if it's limited to 3 amps. It's fine. I just need the voltage. But what I need is the board inside, so I don't have to pay $8 a piece for these things. I want to pay, $6 for 10 of them. Because what I want to make is I want to make a USB-C power strip that has 7 or 10 USB-C ports that are all capable of 20-25 watts output. So each one would be an independent port connected to a primary bus. So a pair of 20-volt laptop power supplies that you could buy for next to nothing. I found one that does 65 watts, but that's a lot of power. And I want the same board but lower power. What's this? I see a transformer on there. Here we go. Here it is. So I found this one. Oh, come on. Just fucking click on it. Why can't I click this? What possible reason could you have to keep me from clicking on that? So see this here? XR control and photo minima. So see this in here? You just feed it 8 to 30 volts. And it gives you a USB-C port that's PD 65 watt compatible. So PD 3.1, 3.0, SCP, PPS fast charging compatible. Oop, switch. So this right here is basically a USB-C PD port. And you just feed it, 8 to 30 volts. So for example, I get a Meanwell 24 volt power supply, tap into the 24 volt rail, and there you go. You have this. You have a PD 65 watt port. Great, but that's too much power. I need something that's, PD 30 watt or less. Even PD 20 watt. I can try. I'm pretty sucky at making my own products, but I can 3D print stuff. What are you trying to make? So I'm looking for this, but at PD 22.5 or PD 30 watt. This way I can have more ports on one power supply without being concerned about overloading that power supply. But I can't find this at lower port. And this here also brings up chargers, charging boards, which I don't want. Yeah, see, this is a charge-discharge module. So this is like basically for making a power bank, which I don't want. I don't want a power bank. What I want is output only. Let's see. Small solar panels are too small to charge phones without going into a safety mode. So I need a tiny power bank just as a buffer. You need more than a tiny power bank because the power bank is going to have the same problem. It's going to have that circuitry that's going to require a minimum power before it just doesn't take any power from the solar panel. What you need is an MPPT controller. So here, I'll show you. What you need. Basically, you need to build your own power bank. You basically need to build a UPS. So solar MPPT. Oh, go away. UPS. Here we go. You need something like this. So I'm just showing you one. You can get cheaper ones. I know they're available. I've seen them. But basically, this is your voltages. The problem is, the problem you're having with the solar charging the phone, whenever it goes too low, it just doesn't accept the charge from the solar panel. Your power bank is going to have the same problem. So you need to have something that has an MPPT controller so that even when you're only getting a little bit of power from the solar panel, it'll still pass that power onto the power bank and charge it up. Basically, you need to build your own power bank. Or is there any other way to do it? If you can't add, the easy solution is to add a bigger solar panel. You really want a solar panel that's 400% of what you need. So if you need a 5-watt solar panel, you want 20 watts. Because you're going to lose 25% right away in conversions and conditions, and anything less than broad daylight straight up and down, you're going to lose another 25-50%. So you really want about 400% of whatever you need for solar. If you can't have 400%, then what you need is something that can take less than 100%. So for example, actually, what I was just showing you would work for you. You would here's an example. I have one right here. This won't work for you, but well, this might work for you. So this here is a UPS. This is a 5-volt UPS. You have USB input here, then you have your voltage output here, and you could just connect that to another USB port. It's not that bad. And you're probably looking at, I don't know, $10 worth of parts if you hunt them down on AliExpress. I've seen solar PPT controllers for as low as $2 or $3. But basically, your simple solution is bigger solar panel. If you have a big enough solar panel that even when it's slightly overcast and the sun's not perfect, you're above that minimum threshold that your power bank needs to be able to charge. Because the problem you're running into is that the power goes too low and the phone just stops accepting the charge. Your power bank's going to do the same thing. Your power's going to go too low and the power bank's going to stop accepting the charge from the solar panel. The solution is more solar panel or a smaller, more sensitive MPPT controller that can take that little trickle charge coming in and actually do something with it. That's how your solar lights work and stuff like that. They take that little bit of trickle charge throughout the whole day to add up to a charge in the battery. And you can theoretically use an existing power bank, especially if you get a small power bank that uses like a single 18650 cell, something similar to this. That's an 18650, and then you can plug your MPPT controller directly into the cell, basically bypassing the charging circuitry of the actual power bank. This way you have that buffer that you need with a power bank, and then your separate solar charge controller will handle trickle charging that battery with whatever little sunlight you get. But remember, well, the way you do that is 2 batteries. That's easy. You get a 3-position switch like this, literally, and that is 1 battery. That's the other battery, and then you have 2 batteries, and the solar panel plugged into each. When one's dead, you flip it and switch to the other battery that's been charging. That's easy to do. Yeah. Again, your best solution is going to be a battery that allows pass-through charging. Some of the really, really cheap little tiny ones don't allow pass-through charging. Some of the larger ones do allow pass-through charging. That's the word you need to look for too, pass-through charging. For example, this does. You can get one of these for like $50. And this will allow pass-through charging. You have AC, DC, and USB charging. Although I don't know if USB allows pass-through, but you definitely have DC input. So you could plug your solar panel into this. It's got a MPPT controller built into it. And it'll allow pass-through charging to your phone. And that's like $50. And it's lithium iron phosphate. It'll last forever. And it'll charge your phone up 2 or 3 times before it's dead. But your biggest thing is going to be more solar panel. You're going to want at least a 20 or 30 watt solar panel. I like my victims happy. I do the best I can to keep my victims happy. I just built my own power bank. Well, I'm trying to. But I found these cute little round PD 22.5 watt bidirectional boards. And the problem is it works great. And I got these 20 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries. That battery's about that big and about that fat. It's a big freaking battery, 64 watt hours, so it's huge. Well, I want more ports, so I plugged in 2 of those boards. The problem is they're not synchronized. You see, that one says the battery's at 70%, which is accurate. But if I turn on the other one, it still thinks the battery's at 100%. And I'm not sure if that's a really bad thing. Batteries can get dangerous if you mess with them the wrong way. So be careful. But yeah, hunt around AliExpress. You can find stuff so cheap. Oh my God, it's so cheap. Like these were $2 each. I got these to use for, this one here is for my pet watering fountain. I have a watering fountain for the cats. The problem is when the power goes out, the watering fountain stops working. Well, this is literally a UPS. So I'll plug a USB port into these terminals and my USB-C into this terminal. And now I have a UPS or USB. When the power goes out, it uses the batteries to power the watering fountain, probably for a few hours until the power comes back on again. These are $2.19 a piece. And you can get them in 5-volt, 9-volt, or 12-volt outputs. So, yeah, pretty damn cool. We're looking at all kinds of stuff. One thing I'm working on now, I'm working on the power bank. Before I could do anything else, this is the power bank I designed. So it's just literally the a 22.5 watt bidirectional USB-C board. I've got 2 of them connected to the 20 amp hour battery. The problem I'm running into is that they're not synchronizing. Like, for example, I've been charging my phone, so the battery's down to 69%, but this one says the battery's at 100%. And that's, hey, be nice. Grass. Nice. I got to do some testing to see whether I'm going to blow something up because those are mismatched. So, for example, this is now down to 69%. This says 100%. What happens if I plug the charger in? I don't know. Let's see what happens. I know what happens if I plug the charger in here. It's going to start charging. What happens, however, if I plug the charger into this end? What's it going to do? All right. It says charging, but it also says 100%. So is it going to stop charging? Is this one going to reflect the fact that it's charging? That still says 69% and doesn't indicate charging. So I know reading how much power is in a battery is kind of finicky. Ultimately, the only thing that matters is, will it stop charging at 3.65 volts like it's supposed to? And will it stop allowing a discharge when it gets down to 2.1 volts like it needs to? If it does that, then I don't really care what these screens say. They can go out of sync and I can give a shit less. You'll just never really know how much power is in the battery. It's still charging. So even though that screen says 100%, because it did mention that the chip will calibrate. And so I guess I'm running into that calibration. Hey, be nice. Be nice. Be nice. But how do I synchronize them? I suspect that what I'm going to need to do is to have an interrupt to disconnect power to the board to reset that calibration. So charge it up and then, hit the button to disconnect it momentarily, give it a minute, and then turn it back on. Basically recalibrate it to 100% again. So, for example, if I plug it into this side, it'll actually start showing. See? Now it's showing 69 and the 9's blinking. Although it's not fast charging. Not fast charging. I think the green lightning bolt means fast charging. I'm not sure. I don't know what that means. But anyway, the easy solution is use one board. Problem solved. But now I only have one USB-C port, and I want more than one USB-C port. I've got a battery that big, I want more than one port. So that's on the side table right now until I figure out what's going on with the charging boards and whether I'm going to blow something up by having 2 boards plugged in. The other thing I want to do is I want to build a USB-C power strip. And to do that, I need a power supply and I need USB ports that are powered from that power supply. And so I need, where is it at? Oh, what a pain. So I found a board for PD 65 watt. That's exactly what I need. But PD 65 watt is too much power. I need 22.5 or 30 watts. Dollar Express. Let me show you what I'm talking about. But you know something? I know that's charging. I wonder, I did want to test. Can I plug in 2 chargers simultaneously? And will that even work? It's pulling 18 watts. And that one's got a green lightning bolt, which indicates higher speed. Yeah, now that one's indicating high speed charging too. Okay, so just had to negotiate. So it looks like I can charge from 2 at the same time. What does that mean? I don't know. So theoretically, I'm charging this at 40 watts right now, which would be pretty badass. That's part of the reason why I want to do that. But how important? Hey, Cassandra, here's the power bank I've been working on. I know you're interested in this one. And it does look like I can charge from 2 at the same time. The problem is the displays are out of sync. That one says 70%, that one says 100%. I guess we'll see if it turns off. At 40 watt hours, this should charge in 30 minutes. So we'll see if it turns off 30 minutes. So here is the board that I found. This is exactly what I need. You feed it 8 to 30 volts, and you get a PD 65 watt port coming out of the other side. At least that appears to be what I need. This appears to be exactly what I need. What I need is this that's not so powerful. 65 watts is too much. Because I mean, even a 300 watt power supply, which is not very common, would only handle 4 or 5 ports. And let's be fair, the vast majority of devices out there don't need 65 watts. And if you plug them into 65 watts, they're not going to take it. They're going to take something less. Problem is, for safety reasons, I can't plug in any more of these modules than the power supply can handle. So 65 watt would mean I would need 1,000 watts for 6 of them. No, 650 watts for 10 of them. I'm sorry. So if I want to plug in 10 of these, I would need a 650 watt power supply. That's a lot of juice. Now I can get larger laptop power supplies. And oddly enough, the best place to get those is usually eBay. What is the... Can I get a 300 watt laptop power supply? That's 90 watts. Like, I know some of the big HPs had some big power supplies. Here we go. Here's a genuine Lenovo 300 watt AC adapter. So they are available. And you could probably get more than that. Let's see if 400 watts available. The nice thing about getting a genuine power supply like this is that, yeah, here we go. That's a weird, oh, is that a USB-C port? What the hell? Is it just me, or does that look like USB-C? No, it's some proprietary connector. No, I want to stick with a barrel plug. Kiss, baby, kiss. Okay, so it looks like they've switched to a an oddball. And that means there's probably communication involved, which means it's not a dumb power supply, which is a problem. Because if I don't communicate with that protocol, then it probably won't work at all. 20 volts easy. Now, the cool thing is, this little adapter, that's $8 for 10 of them. That little adapter will allow you to turn pretty much any laptop power supply into a 65 watt PD power adapter. You just cut off the or plug a pigtail into this, and you could literally turn any laptop power supply into a USB power supply. That's kind of cool. So 400 watts too much. Let's see if there's any 360 watt. There we go, barrel plug. So there's 24 volt, 15 amp, 360 watt, and you can get them for as low as 30 bucks. So you're probably going to want to go with an original when you're pulling that kind of power. And that's here's 360 watt. Oof. Wow. That's expensive. Jesus. So you're better off going with multiple laptop power supplies. Yeah. Screw that. So if we go 200 watt, that allows 3 USB-C ports. Yeah, here we go. Here's a lot of 2 of them for 10 bucks. That would allow you to that would allow you to power 6 USB-C ports at 65 watts. It's amazing how some cost so much and some cost so little. Jesus. That's a good deal. Add that to watch list. Yeah, I'll take a shot at that for that price. 200 watt. So that'll give me 400 watts. I assume that these things are regulating. Then if you're not drawing that much power, then they won't produce that much power. Hopefully their quiescent or standby current isn't that high. Now theoretically I could plug in 6 USB-C ports at 30 watts. The problem is, because this here will allow 65 watts, it will attempt to overdraw the power supply if you were to plug in, for example, 4 65 watt devices, which is why I would prefer to have this module that does not draw that much power. Yeah, screw this, just use laptop power supplies. But how do I find this damn port? Somebody said, search on Oh yeah, we could do that. 10 pieces. PD 30 watt. I mean, I could gank these things. I could get some 12 volt, you know, because they're all 12, 24 volt. Ooh, it's expensive though. Although it has 2 ports. Turn off. I like the dual. And this looks like it just takes the huh. What am I looking at here? I would definitely want the dual. Assume it's good. It's a barrel jack on the one end. Why does it seem like they actively avoid showing you the back end of this thing? Like, now, one thing I would like as well is something like my little power brick here that has a display to show you how much power is being drawn. That would be nice. But you could also do that with cables. You do that with cables that have a built-in screen to show you how much power is going through them. Yeah, see this is stop blink. This is just solid on, but it's still charging. It's still drawing 18 watts. So it looks like it will charge fine. Maybe I'm over concerned. Maybe I don't have to worry about it. The problem is if you use both ports, you're going to lose accuracy as to what the state of power is. But I'm going to test it later. I have a feeling if I disconnect the battery and reconnect the battery, it'll recalibrate and guess what the power is. So that might work. This is pretty cool. I want to add this to cart. It wants me to delete stuff. Okay, so I got to be careful here. I can always look these up. I don't need these. I don't need these. I want these, but I don't need them. This is just a USB breakout board. Where the hell's my mouse? Here it is. I don't need that. Because I definitely want this. That's only $6 a piece. And that gets you two 30-watt USB ports. 6, 12, 18. So a 200-watt power supply would get me 6, could power 3 of these, which would get me 6 USB-C ports. Using 2 power supplies, I could have 12. So I could plug in 6 of these and have 12 USB-C ports, all capable of pushing out 30 watts. That's kind of cool. Now, is this what I think it is? Awfully expensive. Is this power in or is this the other way? Yeah, DC 8 to 32 volts. Oh, here it is. But yeah, this is actually more expensive than the one that comes with all the extra goodies. Because 2 of these would be $7.48. Well, it's only $5.84 for this one, and that comes with a case and everything. Yeah, I'd rather have this. Huh. Well, that's because it was single. If I found where I could buy it in quantity, I can get that probably a lot cheaper. These are fake, by the way. Every one of these is fake. They don't work. You're not getting 100 watts out of that. There's nowhere near the heat dissipation necessary. I have one that actually does put out 100 watts for about 90 seconds, and then it overheats and starts throttling. And the problem is, it doesn't actually throttle. It turns off, cools down, turns on. Turns off, cools down, turns on. So it's not intelligent enough to throttle for heat management. It just turns on and off, which sucks because it would be pretty cool if it would throttle. You know, even just a couple of minutes. Now you see, this is kind of cool. But is it? It looks like it does just plug into the 12 volts. Now the cool thing about something like this is that you have your A and your C port. It does 30 watts, and it's panel mount. So you could 3D print an enclosure that these would snap into. But they're expensive, $10 each. $145 watts? Yeah, I call bullshit. Not for $8. Yeah, so it's 100 watts for the 12 volt ports, not for the PD ports. Although, if those ports were a solid 30 watts each, that'd be worth it still. Because most of your devices aren't going to charge faster than 30 watts. Very rarely do devices charge fast. You know, things like tablets and laptops charge that fast. But even my phone and my tablet, which are designed for fast charging, max out at, 30 or 40 watts. That's the same thing, I think. Again, how do I buy this in quantity? There is enough room in there for, one 45-watt port, but then again, I could just put one 65-watt in there. Why do they cost so much? Because they're being sold singly. The problem is that looks exactly like a charging module, so finding this by a picture search isn't going to work. Ooh, I think I found a cheaper way to get those boards. Yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah. Although, that might not be worth it. Yeah, look at this. $2.36. What's that times 10? $23.60. So it's about the same. However, I'm sorry, this one. So one is $3.21. So it should be $32. You only save $1. But if you buy 5, okay, no, that's 19. Oh, So the 10 is a better deal. This one's different though. This one is 236, but it's only 802 for 5. So your sweet spot for the single board is the 5-piece, because you could buy 2 of the 5 pieces for $16 versus paying $23 for 2 of the 5 pieces. But sadly, that doesn't apply to the dual port ones. Aww. Still, not bad. But then I'd have to build my own enclosure. I'm going to add it anyway, because that is a cheaper way to get that board. Yeah, see, these all allow 12 volts. That's important. Because a lot of these small devices that we have need 12 volts. What's this? Yeah, we are still charging from here. And we are still pushing 17, 18 watts on this end. So it's charging at 40 watts. That's freaking awesome. Charging protection board. We don't want that. Woo! There's a high power port. Wow. That'll give you some juice. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me. Save that one too. Oh, it wants me to delete more shit. You'd have to run that on a dedicated power supply, but still. Oh, no, that's an adjustable. That is. Oh, that'll work. Here's a cheap board. It's a 45 watt. So I can get it. Oh no, it's got shipping. Damn. If I do this, I don't want that one. Who the fuck wants that one? Oh, there's choice. Maybe that did work. I want this one. 30 watt. Okay, there's choice for $1.99. There's choice. That's the 65 watt. Choice 256. Choice $1.54. Nope, that's the 65 watt. Okay, so it looks like $1.99. $1.95. Got 8 to 30 volt input, 30 watt output. Add that. Come on, don't be a. Go away. So really, really cheaply, you could go as low as $1.95. Figuring out how to stack them would be interesting. Sadly, this would not work for flashlight because it needs 6-volt input, 8-volt input, and I need a 3-volt input. I wonder. PD 22.5 watt board. See, now we're getting into the power bank boards again. Power bank. I want the simple chip. Is there anything special wording they use on these? Adding all this junk might help. What if we go 20 watt? No, that is a protocol. Yeah, I did, and we found good boards. But now I'm also looking for something lower power. Yeah, I appreciate that phone. I mean, that worked great, that search. Found for $1.95 a piece. Knew they were available cheap. But now I'm looking for something a little more specific. That's a decoy trigger. We don't want a trigger. I think that's a trigger. Yep, trigger. Yeah, if it doesn't have a transformer, it's not it. Here's a 65 watt one. Here's a 30 watt one. But the 30 watt one has a minimum voltage of 8, which is too high for what we're using. Ooh, what's this? Hey, there's 140 watts for $10. Hey, there's a cheaper source of PD triggers. $8 for 10 of them. Sweet. I gotta add that. Yeah, we found these. So this handles the power strip, the cheapest way. But for slightly more, I'm thinking we're better off getting something like this. You stack these bad boys up for $6 a piece, and you get 2 ports. So you're only paying $3 a port, which is only $1 more than the bare board. That gets you this inside of a case. That would allow us to plug 6 30-watt USB-C ports on a single $10. Ooh, where is that eBay listing? Yeah, I'm gonna take a shot at this. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. So the timer is current. Is yeah, each of these could run 6 65 30-watt USB-C ports. And well, yeah, you're gonna have overhead as well. So yeah, 6 would be the limit. You might be able to get away with 7, since most of the devices you plug in aren't going to use 30 watts. In fact, very few of them use 30 watts. Most of them will be charging around 20 watts. 10 more minutes. And these are genuine HP, so not going to be a problem. But yeah, that's pretty badass right there. Hmm. No, we found that for $2. It's $2, $1.85. None of them are 20 watts. I'm just finding triggers now for the 65-watt one. Yeah, it charged up 100%. And we're down to quiescent power now. It's only 3 watts. Okay, so it does charge and stop. So as far as charging is concerned, that's just a screen error, meaning this number doesn't really matter. That's good. And it's also great that we can plug in 2 chargers. That's really nice. So maybe I don't have to worry about this. Maybe internally it's handling that properly. And it's just for the display that it's not showing properly. Okay, so maybe that's not a problem. The next thing I have to do is test discharge. Drain it down to 10%, then plug something into it on the other one and see if it stops when it gets down to 0. These are also pretty nice for a lot of devices. Oh, what does that board handle? But probably 12-volt max. It doesn't say. What output protocols does it support? Yes, PD and PPS. But what's the maximum? Like, will it do 15 and 20 volts just at lower power? Because 20 volts at 0.5 amps would be 30 watts. I don't know. I bet you this supports a lot more. Looks like this one is 5, 9, and 12, and that's it. C2 and 3. Oh, output voltage range 3 to 20 volts. Sweet. So 20 volts, 2 amps. Obviously, it can't put out a full 2 amps, because that would be 40 watts. But 20 volts at even 1 amp is still 20 watts. Okay. Okay, that's pretty sweet. That's the same thing as the other one. Oh, why are these lists different? I don't understand why these lists are different. Annoying. Oof. How does that work? Oh, it's a decoy board. What the is this? So what am I looking at here? Is that a C port? Oh yeah, it is a C port. Well, that's kind of cool. That gives you 4A and 4 C ports. Might be worth hanging on to look at. Come on. Why is it only showing me this much stuff to delete? I don't want to miss this. Got 3 minutes left. Get rid of this. 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 Where is the thing I was just looking at? Gotta be here. Yeah. I'm curious about this. Very curious. I think that one's the magic sauce, though. That dual port board. I think that's going to be the magic juice. What? Provide a payment method. Hang on. I did not know it was going to do this. What did you use PayPal? Boy, forced payment. Oh, come on. I only got 35 seconds left. Are you fucking kidding me? Am I going to lose this because I can't log in? Just use the fucking password. Oh, you son of a bitch. I'm going to lose this. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Are you serious? Oh, that's fucking bullshit. No, I turned the screen off on purpose so I don't display my credit card number everywhere. Oh my god. Hang on. Let me see if I can finish that stupid fucking process. You gotta be kidding me. I couldn't place a bid until I gave it a new payment method. And of course, it wouldn't let me give it a new payment method in the time I had left. You son of a bitch. Oh, that's bullshit. Wow, that is total bullshit. Wow, that is absolute crock of shit. Yeah, it'll be a long time before I find a deal like that again. What a total crock of shit. Wow. Oh well. I'm not paying those prices. That was a load of shit. What a load of shit. You're giving me an hour anyway. Let me place the goddamn bid and win it. Or warn me in advance that you're going to do that. Well, that was a really nice deal. $8 for 2 genuine OEM 200-watt power supplies. Yeah, that doesn't come up too often. Woof. 4-way 65-watt. Shit. Wonder what the difference is. Oh, different barrel jack. Okay. 5.5 by 2.1 is a pretty common size. Well, there's $10 gets you 4 of them. But it's only slightly cheaper than buying the one that has the modules. I'll save it anyway. It's still kind of cool. It's a nice way it shows all the protocols. Very cool. Oh, it's not free shipping. So it's a little more expensive. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to charge up some of my tablets. We now know the high end works okay. So the high side works okay. Irrespective of what is shown on the screen, it stops charging when it gets to 100%. And we've also now confirmed that I can plug in 2 20-watt power supplies and charge this at 40 watts, which is really freaking cool. I like that a lot. So now I guess the question is, we gotta check, which means the low end is probably the same. The problem is you're not gonna know when you're fully discharged. So if you don't care about not knowing when it's gonna die, then you can plug in 2 devices simultaneously and charge them both at 22 watts theoretically. You know, whatever your device supports. It's just that that display screen is no longer going to be accurate. But yeah, that works. And now, although now that it's charged, they're both resynchronized again. Yeah, they both say 100% now. Okay. I am A-okay with that. So I'm going to run this. What I think I'll do is I'll run it down to like 10%. And then I'll plug in something that needs a full charge. And at some point, it should cut off. As long as it cuts off, then we're good. I also want to test to see, can I reset that display if I interrupt the power? Let's see if there's an easy way to do that. Well, no, I can't do it right now because they're both at 100%. So it'll be meaningless. I need it to be well below 100% to see if the other one resets when I unplug it and plug it back in. Because then it might be as simple as a momentary switch. which there's plenty of room in here for, to beep beep, just disconnect it momentarily to reset the display. It probably won't be perfectly accurate, but it'll probably be close enough to give you an idea of how much power is left in there. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm going to leave these dimples on here. That was for straps, like I did with the flashlight here. Not so much for holding on to it because your hand barely fits in between them. It'd be better if I put these dimples on the caps here and here, because then they'll be much further apart. I could put it all the way up here and all the way up here. That would be better. But the problem is, how do you align them so that when you screw this together, the two line up? I mean, I guess the correct way to do it would be to pick one. So, for example, probably this one. Try to line it up with the thing, and then rotate the threads on the other one until I get them both approximately lined up, so that when you thread them together, these two dimples line up. That's a lot of work for something that people might not use. So I might just get rid of the dimples altogether. I don't know. Gotta think about that. Although, if I do one on the cap and one not on the cap, that would make it easier. But then I'd have two separate caps to print. I'm trying to avoid that. Right now, you just print all identical parts and paste them together, and you're good. The new channels work great. The wires fit through no problem. I can't think of anything else I need to do with this. I mean, I think this is done. And I think the flashlight's done. I just don't want to post this until I print out the... I did make a whole bunch of little minor changes to the body. So, I did print out some of these. So here's one of the little carabiner clip thingies. So you'd print out a little ring that would fit in there, and then your carabiner clip would snap right onto that, so you could attach your doggy bags or whatever you want to this. And then I also printed bigger ones. So here's the bigger clip. Oh, that's gone now. It's history. Forget about it. Just pretend that didn't exist. So I'm not picking it up. But yeah, there's that one. So that one will screw into the twin pair of holes that'll be up here. So you'll have that screwed in just like that. And now you can put something a little heavier duty on there. So if you want to attach that, or just have a carabiner in there just so you can hang this up easier, whatever you want. Molly clip, anything really. I want to get that done. Yeah. I'm going to leave the flashlight like it is using the QC trigger in the BMS, but you could also add the USB board to the cap. You just print this cap, and this cap would just make the flashlight a little bit longer. Okay. And then you just, run an extra length of wire up to the other terminal on the battery, and then you would have both USB charging and this. Now, the nice thing is you could still dual charge. So you'll be able to plug in a charger into the cap and charge the flashlight, and also plug in a charger into here and charge the flashlight. So you can push, 40 or 50 watts into that battery, which would make for a nice fast charge. I've gotten up to 25 watts through this port. That plus, another 20 watts through this port, you're easily over 40 watts of charging power, which is pretty darn cool. I can't think of anything else. If you don't need multiple USB ports, and you don't want to buy multiple of those boards, of course, they're only like $4 each. You could just put one of these caps on here, and the other end would just be the regular cap. with no USB ports, and that would get you a USB-C and USB-A. You could do that too. But before I publish these files, I'm going to verify that the voltage cutoff BMS functionality works when you're using two. Over the next day or two, I will print out the final version. What I hope, well, it's not going to be the final version. Well, it'll be the final version of this part. That should be done. But I still need to make some changes to this part up here, because this is kind of janky. The way this all goes together. It goes together okay, but depending on how clean your solder joints are, it could be a little janky. Otherwise, it works fine. It's not self-aligning. You kind of got to tweak it. Basically, you tighten these down most of the way. Then you got to make sure that these two emitters are centered inside these openings. And then you finish tightening it down. Good. Yeah, that's it. Can you guys think of any other changes that maybe I should put in before I finalize the design? Still haven't figured out if I want to do anything with this. I think I'm just going to leave it alone. I would like to make this a little bit thinner if I really thinking about trying to make that just a hair thinner. Because I mean, this is comfortable for me to hold, but I can imagine someone with smaller hands having a tough time hanging on to this. Because I mean, even my hand doesn't wrap all the way around. I have gigantic hands. My hand is my hand is 7 centimeters. So I got a big freaking hand. How big is that around? Because right now we're at refinement point. Yeah, it is 8 centimeters. So it's 8 centimeters around. But see, the other advantage of that plastic is it protects that battery. But I was thinking I could have just this portion go bevel in, be thinner just for this portion here. So that's just a little bit easier to wrap your hand around that. It's one of the reasons I want the strap, is to make sure, you know, you're not going to drop this if you're wearing gloves in the wintertime or something like that. And also something that'll be unrelated to releasing these files. I'm also thinking about seeing if I can get some lenses to put on here. Focus the beam down a little bit for people who would like a little bit more of concentrated light. Or even do both. Have a lens on one and no lens on the other. So you get a little bit of concentrated light and you get the broad light. That's something else I could try. But yeah, I think this is, I think it's good to go. ED trigger fits great. We have the anchor to hold it. We moved and recessed the switch more. This now fits properly. We have a proper hole to slide the switch, the plug through. Dual screw holes here. Printing these is a bit of a bear. Well, printing them is easy. The problem you run into is that they fuse, so they don't want to come apart. So you end up having to, I'm still working on a slicer parameters to eliminate that. I think the solution I have is to get rid of the holes. Instead of a hole, have a divot. And then you would just take a drill and just dip, dip, and drill straight through. If I got rid of the holes, I eliminate the islands, and I can force the slicer to make this the travel point for the layer change, and then this should print without being fused together. But for now, you have to come in here with something like this carefully so that you don't ruin it. Got to cut away here. this down till you get all the way through, and there we go. That wasn't so bad. There we go. Now you can open this. The idea is you can fit your ring through there. Okay, so you'd print that ring. That would screw, either the single one would screw into here, or the double one would screw in up here, and then you'd have that plastic ring just sitting there, and then you could just take your carabiner clip on whatever you have and just schnick, done. Now, one other thing I could do, and this is later, it's not going to slow things down. I'm going to release it like it is. But one of the things that I do not like about this is that you have to print this in 2 pieces, plus the insert for the top here. And the result is, even though these are screwed together, this does this. See how it still tries to open up there like that? It's not going to come apart because there's 3 screws holding it together. But I hate that. That really annoys me. Woof. Did you say 518 amp? No. You mistyped that, right? 1,000 watts at 5 volts? Jeez, yeah, okay. Figured that was a typo. Like, holy shit, that's gonna be beefy. There's 2 things you can do. The easy solution is not elegant, but it works. This is supposed to be 1 piece, not 2 pieces. The only reason this is 2 pieces is so that you can print this without support. Now, just got me thinking. That just got me thinking. Okay, so one of the things that I have inside the cap here, as you see in this cap, it's flat. Okay, this is one of the originals. But you notice on the new caps, there's actually some extrusions here. And the purpose of those extrusions, I can show it to you on this one. See that ring inside there? The purpose of that ring is to push on the battery. And then at the top, where it sits on the shoulder inside of here, there's a TPU 3D printed washer. And the whole point of that is so that if this flashlight does this, number 1, the battery can't move because it's being sandwiched. Number 2, it's being sandwiched by something flexible, not something rigid. So that if the flashlight hits the ground like this absorbs, is a shock absorber, and absorbs that. Because if you printed this in solid PETG and you drop this, it will shatter. I don't care how well you print it. You could print this thing solid fucking 100% infill. With how heavy this thing is, this weighs over a pound. Okay, that's a lot. If you drop this on its end, it's going to shatter, and at least it's going to blow apart. All right. However, by this being TPU, in theory, I'm not testing it because I only got one, but in theory, you could drop this all day long and it's not going to care. Nice. Is that passively cooled? So no fan? 90 watts, you should be passively cooled. No, you're going to print this in whatever you want. You could print this in PLA, you could print this in silk, you could print it in HDPLA, you could print it in PETG, you could print the whole thing in TPU if you want. That would be a badass flashlight. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to do that at some point. I'm probably going to get some of that, I can't afford it right now, but get some of that Cookie CAD glitter TPU that they have and print the whole damn flashlight and use the clear glitter TPU for the body and that neon green glitter TPU for the end caps. That would cost a fortune. It would take I'd have to buy $70 worth of filament to print it, although I could print 3 flashlights with that. But still, that's $70 I'd have to put out front. That would be indestructible. You're never going to kill that. Never. Now here's the thing, though. I could either find a way to get rid of that ring by, for example, maybe having a ring that goes inside of here and they get screwed in. Or just have the ring sit in here. Just have that ring be a separate print that you just plop in there to provide that shock absorption connection to this. Or maybe I don't need it. Well, no, yeah, because I don't want this. The battery will shift backwards if you don't. So you do need something in there. But if I can deal with the bridging problem inside there, then I can print this as one piece. And just deal. It'll have ugly as fuck bridging on the inside, but who cares? It's going to be invisible. So I don't care about the bridging problem. I can bevel the inside a little bit to reduce how far it has to bridge. I don't know. I gotta think about that. But I might be able to do this in one piece. If I could do that in one piece, not only would that be easier to print for people, not only would it look nicer, but it would also eliminate this. It would also eliminate 3 screws. So I'm going to work on that. But that's for the power bank. That won't affect the flashlight. Oh, yeah, it will affect the flashlight because if I do... Well, it'll only affect the flashlight if you add the USB. You can print the flashlight like it is and add the USB later. You could even pre-install the wire, go down to the USB, so that you could add that at a later time if you want to. So you'd be able to print this and then add that USB module later. Because I really like the idea. I mean, with a battery this big, I really like the idea of being able to use this as a power bank too. It just makes sense. And the reality is, if you're using it as a power bank, the amount of power that the flashlight itself draws is inconsequential, and it's going to largely not affect the accuracy of your readout, because the amount of power this flashlight draws is so little. I mean, 60 hours doing that. I mean, 60 hours, that means you're drawing what? 1.4% of your battery per hour? Who cares? At that point, who cares? Now, the only bad thing is, you're never going to know how much power you have left in the battery. No matter how long you run this flashlight, you're not going to know how much power is left in the battery, unless we tap into the 5 volts coming out of the board, so that the board is aware of the power that's going to the flashlight. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to make the final print of this, make sure everything is good, and once that happens, which will be in the next couple days, I'll then get this published as it is, and finalize the BOM, get that all done. Then I'll worry about adding the USB as a secondary thing. At first, you could just have a wire run down, plug it in, you're good to go, it'll work. And but to make it integrate properly with the BMS, at least as close as we can to properly, that would entail eliminating this. You wouldn't need it anymore. Although if you kept it, you could still plug in 2 USB power supplies and charge this thing twice as fast. Because you get 20 watts to each port. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, I think that alone is worth the vampire drain of that light. I think that alone is worth it, just the ability to be able to charge this thing at 40 watts. That's a fast charge. That's a really fast charge. I like this too. So I'm going to get that printed. I'm going to do it. I'm almost out of TPU. Shit. Some of this I'm gonna have to wait until I have more TPU because I have no TPU left. But I also want to get going on this. I want to make a light that uses like 5 of these on a mast that you'd all 3D print. Then have an area light. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's pretty final now. Now it's just refining. My only concern is making sure it's safe. And so half the test is done. I plugged in 2 chargers with the 2 displays being mismatched, and they both turned off when the battery was full. So we're safe there. Now I need to test discharge, make sure that's safe. This is done. Flashlight without USB is done. I just need to print out the last version 3 of this body to make sure the little tweaks that I made are all clean. Once I do that, I'll publish this, and then we'll do the USB add-on later. That'll be a modification for later. Remember, you're going to be building this, so you're going to know how to build it. You're going to know how to take it apart, so it's not going to be difficult for you to add on functionality later. The hard part is going to be the instructions. That's going to be the hard part. I think in the beginning, I'm going to have video instructions. So I'll just point my camera down at my desk, rig it up to point at my desk. Then I'll just videotape each step. Okay, at this step, you're going to do this. At this step, you're going to do this. And then later on, using the Tinkercad, I'll make up a proper set of instructions. But yeah, I want to get these published now. I want to get these online. Yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of the nipples. I'm just going to get rid of them altogether. But that's too small to really be useful. Now, what would be useful is a couple of screw holes so that you can attach this thing to it and put a carabiner clip on there, so then you can carabiner this to your backpack and shit like that. That would be useful. So actually what I'll probably do is keep it here and just put a second one of these here so that you have one of these double attachments, mount it like that. Then you'll have your little D-ring and your carabiner clip. And also that will make this stick out further, so to stop this from rolling. Yeah, I want to get rid of all these extra ones and just have the 2 of them there. This way you can attach your inside your car, inside your tent, whatever. You can attach this anywhere. I do want to test print this in one piece, see if that works. Yeah, gotta work it. Okay. I think of anything else. Is there anything else I need to do? Butt's starting to hurt from sitting like this. Yeah, when it got really cold in here, the print would not stick to the bed. It got down to 8 degrees, and it got down to like 45 degrees in the house. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to turn on a little heat. And but yeah, it kept popping off the bed. Oh, there. But once I got it to about 55, 60 degrees in here, then the printer worked fine. So it really doesn't like when it gets that cold. It gets pissed off. Good news, I'm on track for Amazon this month. We're at $1,730, so I'm only 1,020 short, and I still got 15 days left in a month. So we might hit the $85 goal January, which would be nice. My brother is gonna loan me $250 for 3 months so that I can sign up for a bunch of the different bank accounts that offer free cash. So they have a deal for Chime, where if you sign up, you get $350. So but you have to make more than $200 in direct deposits 3 months in a row. So you get $150 the first month, $100 the second month, $100 the third month. So I'm already on Chime, so I'm going to sign up my sister, Michelle, her social security number, sign up for Chime, get that $350, and then I'm going to sign us up, both of us, for Credit One checking, which is a $250 bonus. If I get all three, that's $850. That's enough to pay for my property taxes, pay the rest of my water bill, and to pay my car insurance. And there might even be enough left in there for me to sign up for AAA again. I'm really jonesing not having AAA, because if I break down, I'm fucked. Like, can't even get the car home. So I'm kind of really iffed over that. So if I can get my AAA again, that would be a lot of peace of mind. I found out why I couldn't use I signed up for Sam's Club for $25 to get the gas, because their gas is 46 cents a gallon cheaper, which means I only have to buy 58 gallons to break even on the membership price. I buy about 100 gallons a year, so I would save money, and plus I would have access to the discount prices at the Sam's Club. But it wouldn't let me do it last week. I wanted to fill my tank up, and it wouldn't let me. Kept saying declined before I even pumped any gas. So I figured, okay, it's trying to pre-authorize some crazy large number, and I don't have enough money in my account. Yeah, that crazy large number is $75. They're trying to pre-authorize $75 to let me pump $12 worth of gas. It's like, come on. Stop kicking me in the balls, okay? You've already got me on the ground. Do you have to keep kicking me? It's like, give me a break. Come on. So I'm going to try a different card, because I noticed that Circle K, I had a similar problem. When I tried to use my Chime card, it wouldn't work. But when I used my Sunward Credit Union card, it did work. So I don't know if Sunward just allows the authorization hold for a larger sum, even if you don't have it. I'll have to test that. Otherwise, I'll have to have $75 in my account in order to get gas, even though I only need $20 for the gas. So that'll be, I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that, because I don't usually have that much money in my account. You know, when money hits my account, I spend it immediately. Just because I got to pay my bills. And if I don't pay the bills, I might accidentally buy something, and I can't pay the bills, and then I'm in trouble. So when money hits my account, I electric, water, car insurance, everything. I pay off everything right away. I'll figure it out though, because it's worth it for that gas savings. That's a big savings. Because there's a Sam's Club gas station literally on the corner where Michelle's Spanish Trails is. So I don't have to drive out of my way at all. It's right there. It's literally right there. Like, take advantage of that. What else? Can't think of anything else. I got an idea for some food goodies. Especially now I get my oatmeal really cheap. I love oatmeal. But I want to get little Ziploc bags, buy a bunch of different frozen fruits. You can get bags of frozen fruit pretty cheap, and separate the fruit into little portion-sized bags. So a little bit of bananas, a little bit of apples, a little bit of strawberries, a pat of butter, a little bit of salt, a little bit of brown sugar, all in a Ziploc bag, seal it up. And then put all these little Ziploc bags in a freezer bag and put that in the freezer. And then when I go to make oatmeal, I just grab my 3 packs of oatmeal, grab my little bag of fruit, butter, salt, sugar, everything all ready to go, and just dump it in a bowl, put it in the microwave. I think that'd be pretty cool. Boy, did you see that new range that they have? The new Impulse cooktop? It's a cooktop that has a built-in battery. So it's a 4-burner induction cooktop that has its own battery inside. And they say you can actually cook 3 or 4 meals on the battery power. So I already sent them a message. I was like, you need to set this up for time of use, so that it only uses the battery to cook with, and then waits until power is cheaper. Exactly. That's the problem. The fruit becomes one big giant block. So if I separate it ahead of time, it's okay if it becomes a block, because that whole block is going to go in the bowl. So yeah, that's exactly why I want to do that. And I figured I could add the butter and the brown sugar and the salt and whatever else I want to add to it, walnuts, dates, whatever. And have it all be in one little baggie. Just dump it in the food and cook it. This Impulse cooktop is capable of pushing 10 kilowatts to a burner. So it could boil 80 ounces of water, enough to cook spaghetti for a family, in 90 seconds, and a liter of water in 35 seconds. That's fast. That's really fast. And I was like, and it is single degree temperature accuracy. So this allows you to do something that's usually really hard to do. So you can set it to be above the temperature your item needs to cook at, but below the smoke point of whatever you're cooking at. You can be that precise with it and that fast. It'll adjust that quickly. And I was like, this is amazing. I would love to have one in my house. And then I found out what it costs. 1/5 the price of my house. $7,000 for a range top. Woo! I'll just watch you use it on YouTube. It's beautiful, but I'll just watch you use it, because I'm never going to own one of those. Holy shit, that's a lot of money. Wow. People are worried about being able to upgrade their electrical. Yeah, I doubt it. I'll ask them, but I doubt it. Not for something that expensive. You'd have to be a pretty big YouTube channel for something that expensive. They said people are worried about the cost of upgrading their electrical. Even if I had to replace my entire electrical panel and upgrade my electric service, it would cost less than your range. Somehow, I don't think anybody's spending $7,000 on a range top. That's not including an oven. That's just a range top. $7,000 on a range top is going to be too worried about the $2,000 or $3,000 cost of upgrading their electrical. I don't think they're going to be worried about it. You got your priorities wrong. Go get food. Time for them to eat. Why isn't that dispensing the proper amount of food? Sounds like it's not dispensing enough food. I gotta check it. Yeah, I can email them, but they're gonna say no. Something that expensive? Yeah. But the cool thing is, because it has so much battery power, you could plug it into a 120-volt outlet. It'll just take longer to charge the battery. That's all. And it can run off batteries alone, which means I can force it to be smart about its charging by simply plugging it into a smart switch and programming that smart switch to turn off when power is expensive and turn on when power is cheap and then let it recharge the battery. But my question is, what kind of battery is inside that thing? What kind of warranty do you have on that battery? Because I don't know about you, but no one buys a 5-year cooktop. Okay? There is no buy a 5-year cooktop. You buy a cooktop, it's for life. It's a 20 or 30-year purchase. That battery ain't lasting 20 years. Well, it could. If it uses lithium iron phosphate and it's properly designed, then yeah, it could last 20 years. In fact, it could last 30 years. You'll just lose capacity over time. But the problem is you're drawing 10 kilowatts of power. So that means you're using EV class batteries. And you might be sticking with tenery cells just for the space savings, the power density, since the battery has to fit underneath the range top. So somehow I doubt they're using lithium iron phosphate. They're probably using NMC cells, EV car cells. What would be really nice if they use sodium ion. That'd be great. But yeah, I'm not so sure about that. At $7,000, and you're telling me, well, what do you do in 5 years when those batteries start going bad? Just throw away a $7,000 range top? Yeah, I don't think so. That's going to be a big sell. You're either going to be conning people because they're not aware of that problem, or you're going to have to really convince them that this thing's going to last. But using a battery, if it's done right, it's actually a pretty smart move, because now you can pump as much power into that range as you want. 10 kilowatts. That's a lot of freaking juice. That's a lot. Even in the UK, they cap out at 6 kilowatts, with the 220 power. So being able to push 10 kilowatts with single degree accuracy, that's pretty cool. So how about a 2-burner version? That's a whole hell of a lot cheaper. Maybe even a 2-burner version where I can provide my own batteries. That's a problem, because if you allow the consumer to provide their own batteries and they provide the wrong batteries and they burn their house down, they're still going to sue you. So that's an issue. I can see them wanting to avoid that very obvious issue. Yeah, I don't know. It's in. Look it up on YouTube. It's Impulse Cooktop. It's really pretty cool. Some of the stuff he does is pretty neat. You can tell he's really into it. You can tell that these people are creators and engineers. That they're not thinking about the economical aspect. They're thinking about came up with a really cool idea kind of thing. I like that kind of person. It's cool. It's just cheap. I gotta find some way of coming up with probably about $10,000 or $15,000 in the next 10 years, next 5 years, really, because there's going to be a very small window where I might have a chance to buy a long-range electric car for very cheap. Sodium-ion batteries are coming. Cattle is switching over to sodium-ion. They are the largest electric car manufacturer and electric car battery manufacturer on the planet. They're switching to sodium-ion. If sodium-ion proves it can deal what it promises, meaning batteries that are 40 or 50% of what they currently cost with the same density and 5 times the lifespan, without using any contested metals, so no cobalt, no nickel, no lithium. If the sodium ion batteries actually deliver, you're going to see a mass wholesale switch to sodium ion. You're going to see the industry around the world switch, which means there's going to be a very little window there where they're going to ditch all of their current tech as they switch over to the new tech. So there should be a small window where lithium ion phosphate, lithium ion, lithium polymer, electric cars should depreciate at a ridiculous rate because they want to get rid of inventory and everybody wants the new sodium ion. So there might be a very small window in there where I could get a $40,000 car for under $20,000. It's like Nissan Leafs. You can always buy an off-lease Nissan Leaf for 1/2 of what it costs new, because the cars have a very short range, so they depreciate very quickly. Because you want the new model, you don't want the current model. You want the new model because the new model's got the bigger battery. So my first Nissan Leaf, I paid $16,000 for a car that was worth $40,000. My second one, I paid $17,000 for a car that was worth $38,000. These were both basically brand new, off lease, very low miles, couple thousand miles. But I can no longer afford that kind of a car payment. I mean, I no longer have the income or the credit to support that kind of car payment. So I don't know, figure something out. That might be a valid reason to sell the bus. If I can get $5,000 or $6,000 for the bus, that might not be enough. I don't know. I gotta think about it. But I could see the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall says within the next 5 years, sodium ion is either going to take over like a firestorm or it's going to fizzle out and go pop. And if it takes off like a firestorm, all the current cars using the current chemistries are going to be selling fucking cheap. What's really crazy is that sodium ion batteries have the potential to reduce the cost of an electric car by such a massive degree that, assuming the regulators get the hell out of the way and the greedy corporates get the hell out of the way, it's feasible someone could release a sodium ion electric car at a lower brand new price than the fire sale price of the current cars. That's a possibility. That's not impossible, because the battery is such a huge portion of the price of a car. And of course, the battery is such a huge portion of the price of the car, they make the rest of the car much more expensive too to justify the cost of the battery. So if the battery gets that much cheaper and the car also gets that much cheaper because it no longer needs to fluff up its value, like even my Nissan Leaf has a lot of fluff in it that I love, that I really love, but I don't necessarily need. My 400-watt Bose sound system. I love my Bose sound system, but I don't need it. My 360-degree 4-way cameras. I love it, but I don't need it. My nice large infotainment entertainment system. I love it, but I don't need it. All right, there's a lot of things my car has that are feature comforts to justify a $38,000 price tag. You don't actually need it. So if they were to make a simpler car with the sodium ion batteries, they could actually undercut even the fire sale prices of the current tech. So that's going to be an interesting, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see if American auto manufacturers resist switching to sodium ion simply to avoid having to take such a huge loss on everything they currently have invested in. And then how much pressure can they apply politically to keep foreign manufacturers from bringing sodium ion tech into the US in order to maintain their market share. So the next 5 years is going to be interesting in electric cars. It's going to be very, very interesting. What are you doing? Huh? Weirdo. Hi. That tail. Give me that tail. Yeah. Wait. He's a good. Yeah. Making biscuits, huh? Making biscuits, huh? But yeah, it'd be nice if they made a 2-burner version of that cooktop. You know, for people who don't need a full 30-inch 4-burner setup. I only ever use 2 burners. And I can always yank out an extra standalone induction cooktop if I need a 3rd burner for some reason. But having a battery powered appliance would be pretty cool though, if it had long lasting batteries, so that you could time shift your power usage. You'd say, okay, cook dinner on the batteries, and then okay, but don't recharge until 10 o'clock, and power gets cheaper. That'd be pretty cool. All right, that's it. It's 2 o'clock. There's a Roadrunner today, so I'm gonna go see what they have today. Hopefully they have some goodies. Yum 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 yum. I got a whole case of coleslaw. Not coleslaw, cabbage, shredded cabbage. A whole case of it, like literally 20 pounds, at least 20 pounds of shredded cabbage. She just begged me to take a case because she had so much, so I took a case. I figured worst case scenario, I can give it to my neighbors who have chickens. But I want to try to cook something with it. Got some canned ham, so I'm going to try to make some cabbage soup with ham. I love cabbage. I wanted to try roasted cabbage, but that was using chunks of cabbage, and I haven't found a recipe that does shredded cabbage. So I might try that, see what happens. I also want to try my hand at making coleslaw. I do like coleslaw. Just because I have all this cabbage, I want to try to use it. Try to use some of it. What are you plugged into? Oh, that. Sauerkraut is cabbage? Oh my god, it is. I love sauerkraut. Oh my god. I love sauerkraut. I would gladly turn a whole bag of this shit into sauerkraut if I could. Oh, I'm watching some videos tonight. We're gonna see how hard it is to make sauerkraut. Sauerkraut in a crock pot. Yeah, I'll watch that.
Sauerkraut, along with so many other fermented foods, is such a good addition to.
Yep, I'm gonna watch that. I love sauerkraut. I didn't. Duh, obviously. I didn't know what I thought sauerkraut was. I think I thought it was its own vegetable. It sounds like you just have to pickle it. It's just pickling, isn't it? Lactic acid. Hi, baby. You're such a good boy. Yes, you are. You're such a good. Don't pat me. Kick your butt, little boy. My mic appears to be peaking where it should be. Although it could be whenever I turn away. You know, obviously if I turn away, it's gonna affect the level on the mic. Tuned up right. Um Oh, you don't even seal it? Huh. I love sauerkraut. I also want to make some pickled onions. Oh man, I haven't had pickled onions in such a long time. I gotta learn how to can. The problem is you gotta have a canner, and that's expensive. Unless I could do water bath canning. Water bath canning I could do, but pressure canning, I don't have the equipment. But I'm always so worried about screwing up and murdering myself Ah, fermenting. Okay. Is pickled cabbage a thing too? I can do both. I have a lot. Yeah, pickled red cabbage. Easy pickled cabbage recipe. Okay. So you could pickle it or ferment it. So sauerkraut is fermented cabbage, and obviously pickled is pickled. And you only need 3 ingredients in 24 hours for pickled cabbage. Go away. So you need cabbage, ginger, white vinegar, and boiling water. Ginger's expensive. Can you can it? Can you jar it? Hey, it's even got a decent amount of fiber. Cool. So you can pickle it or you can ferment it, and sauerkraut is fermented. I'm assuming. Okay. Sweet. I've got so much of it. I'm not kidding you. Each bag is like this big, and I've got like 5 bags. All right, that's it. I will see you guys later. Um, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna get. I'm gonna probably get this printing tonight. That's just Petchy, so I've got that already loaded. So I'll get that printing tonight. Um, I'll start working on the bomb and the instructions so that I can piece it all together. I still have to work on getting all the components together to make the short kits. That's going to take a little effort because it requires money. What I might do is make one short kit since I have an extra battery. Um, Hopefully get enough money from that to buy the components to make more short kits. Bootstrap it. Because I still got to order heat sinks. That's like 15 bucks. I got to order batteries. They're like 12 bucks a piece. If I buy them in bulk, 12 or $15 each if I buy them in 5 or 6 at a time. That's the problem is there's a high upfront cost. And if they don't all sell, then I'm just out that money. um, that's it. I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to support me on PayPal, Zelle, Patreon. Don't forget to use my Amazon links in the description. Amazon Associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Required wording by Amazon. I'm going to do, I've done the charging test. I've done the high voltage test. Now I got to do the low voltage test. Once I confirm the low voltage test is good, I'll start working on getting this released. Well, I do still want to try to print this as one piece, see if I can get away with that. Because I would be much happier if I could print this as one piece. The infill on the inside, the bridging is going to be a mess from hell. But that mess from hell might also be spongy. That might be good for acting as like a sponge cushion for the battery to protect the battery. Don't want is hitting the ground and that battery hitting a hard stop. You want that battery to be cushioned by the TPU on both ends, so that that battery doesn't take that shock. That's why the end top or TPU might not feel like there's much flex there, you know, because it's pretty stiff. But that little bit of flex makes a big deal. The total G forces that impact the components on the inside. The difference between shattering into 100 pieces and going, okay, got a mark, keep going. um, so that's it. I will see you guys later. I'll try to keep posting pictures to Discord. I've been posting pictures as I've gone along. I think that works out well. Keeps you guys with content coming. I know that's important. Yeah. Then I'm also going to start working on the design for this. I think this is going to be pretty cool. These you can get for like $3 a piece. So 5 of them. And that's, you know, that's enough to light up an entire yard. Should be, because these are pretty bright. So I want to, why is that so warm? Like, what was that touching? Why is all this so warm? Where's the heat coming from? But yeah, I've got a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only have 5? I thought I had 6. Darn it. Because I also want to make a handheld one that uses one of my big batteries and have a handheld one that has one of these on it. So there's a massive area light just to carry around. I think that'd be pretty cool too. I thought I had 6. 5 for the big light and 1 for the handheld. I guess I didn't order 6. I'll keep trying eBay for those power strips. The HP 200-watt laptop power supplies, because that's the best way to go. OEM equipment, you know, it's designed well. That's it. I will see you guys next week. I'm going to go hit Roadrunner and see what they got. Be good.